Welcome to another explainer. Today we're tackling something that can completely transform the spaces we live and work in. Listen, have you ever looked at one of those breathtaking, large-scale wall murals in a fancy corporate lobby or a high-end restaurant and thought, man, how did they get a sticker that big to look so good? Well, here's a little industry secret for you. Those jaw-dropping murals, they are absolutely not just giant stickers. In fact, if you're dealing with giant stickers, you're kind of doing it wrong. Today, we're opening up our expert playbook to show you the exact science, the tech, and the methodology that the absolute pros use to create these stunning visuals.
So the big question we're answering today is really this: how do you create flawless wall murals at an architectural scale? And we aren't talking about hanging up a small poster here. We're talking about floor-to-ceiling, wall-to-wall perfection. It takes a very specific level of expertise to make sure a massive piece of art doesn't just end up looking like a blurry, pixelated mess with peeling edges. So let's look at exactly how true professionals completely bypass those amateur pitfalls to deliver seamless, hyper-realistic wall art every single time.
All right, let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll walk through the four-step creation process. Second, mastering architectural image scale. Third, the direct-to-wall advantage. And finally, choosing the right provider.
First up, Section 1, the four-step creation process.
You know, creating a custom wall mural is actually a lot simpler than most people expect, but pulling it off flawlessly relies on a very strict methodology. It's basically a four-step framework. Step 1, obviously, is choosing your design. Custom artwork, a photo, brand graphics, whatever you want. Step 2 involves meticulously measuring the wall and prepping a high-res file. But Step 3 is absolutely crucial. This is where the experts really stand out. Approving a scaled proof. A true pro will always let you review the design at its physical, real-world size before a single drop of ink is applied. You never want to just guess how it's going to look, right? And then finally, Step 4 is the actual print and installation.
Moving right along to Section 2, mastering architectural image scale.
Let's get a little technical for a second, because your source file's resolution is literally the single biggest factor in mural quality. It's what dictates whether your wall looks like a masterpiece or a total mistake. Let's demystify some industry jargon while we're at it. Architectural scale just means enlarging an image to fit a full wall or an entire room. And here's why that's so important. A photo that looks super sharp on your 6-inch smartphone screen is way too small for a 10-foot wall. If you try to blow up a standard screen image to architectural scale, it's going to pixelate, it's going to blur, and it's just going to fall apart. You need drastically higher detail than you probably think. And that brilliantly brings us to our next tool, vector artwork. If you're dealing with branding, logos, or illustrations, vector artwork is your absolute best friend. Unlike standard photos that are made up of all those tiny little pixels, vector graphics are essentially math equations drawn by a computer. What that means for us is that they scale perfectly to any size. You could print a vector logo on a coffee mug or literally on the side of a skyscraper, and it will never lose its sharpness. It's the absolute gold standard for corporate graphics.
But you know, what if you do want a photograph? Well, write this down as an absolute rule for photo murals. Bigger is always better. You've got to use the absolute highest resolution version of your image that exists. We're talking original, raw camera files. Never, and I mean never, use compressed downloads from social media or quick web searches. A real expert provider isn't just going to blindly hit print on whatever file you email them. They're going to meticulously check your file and confirm it's actually viable for an architectural scale before they do anything.
All right, Section 3, the direct-to-wall advantage.
If you really want to understand our expert playbook, this is where professional technology just completely outshines the traditional consumer stuff. Let's look at a stark contrast here. On one hand, you have the amateur method, those online mural shops where you upload a design and they mail you a bunch of printed wallpaper panels. It's DIY, you have to install it, and honestly, no matter how careful you are, those panels are always going to have visible seams right where they meet. But on the other hand, you have the expert standard, direct-to-wall printing. A pro comes to your space and prints the design straight onto your wall, right there on site. Zero seams, no vinyl, no peeling adhesives, just a fully finished, stunning piece of art.
Get this number in your head, 600 plus. Direct-to-wall printing technology actually applies UV-cured ink straight onto your surface at over 600 dots per inch. It creates imagery that is so incredibly dense and photorealistic, it literally looks like it was painted by a master artist, seamlessly integrated right into your room. That is the secret to getting those jaw-dropping results, without any peeling edges down the road. And if the quality wasn't enough of a game changer, check out the efficiency. Less than 5.
That is the number of hours it usually takes for a professional direct-to-wall installation, because there's no messing around with gluing wallpaper strips, matching up seams, or prepping massive vinyl decals. The whole process is incredibly fast. Minimal disruption to your home or business. You can basically get a world-class mural installed before you even head out for your lunch break.
And finally, Section 4, choosing the right provider.
Okay, we're pivoting from the theory and the tech to a highly actionable summary. Now that you know how the experts do it, how do you actually hire the right team to get it done? When you're vetting a provider, here is your definitive checklist. Demand a print resolution of at least 600 dpi. Insist on a seam-free direct-to-wall method where the installation is completely included. Never, ever proceed without getting a scaled proof first. And make sure the final product is both cleanable and paint-over ready, just in case you want to update the space years down the line. A prime example of a team that hits every single mark on this expert checklist is East Coast Mural Pros. They offer this elite level of service all up and down the U.S. East Coast.
Which leaves us with this final really exciting thought. We've officially tossed out the messy stickers and the visible seams. You now possess the expert's playbook for flawless, architectural-scale, direct-to-wall murals. The technology literally exists to take absolutely anything you can imagine and put it seamlessly into your space. So, now that you know the expert standard, what are you going to put on your walls? Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. I really hope it completely changes how you look at the physical spaces all around you.